Welcome to this practical lab where we will learn how to train ChatGPT with information that we have stored or contained in a PDF document. To do this, we will use the LangChain index module. The first thing we need to do is access the WebCollab environment and upload the following notebook. Once we have uploaded it, we will need to install the libraries that we will require. Just as we did before, we have to import the functions that we are going to use. To read the PDF, we will use a Python library called pypdf and import the PDF reader function. Afterward, we will use a series of functions from LangChain. We will use embedding functions, functions to segment the text, and functions to vectorize the text and store it in a vector database, like FACE, which we mentioned before. There are different types of databases we can use depending on our needs. We will also require prompt functions and access to a proprietary model which will be ChatGPT, obtained from OpenAI. As we are going to use ChatGPT, a basic requirement is access to its API key. We have accessed the OpenAI environment in the key section and generated a new one and added it. Once we have access to this model, we will see the result we get when we do not have access to the PDF information, and then we will see the result we obtain when we do have information from the PDF. The PDF we will use is this document that discusses GPT-4. We will do a test and ask ChatGPT who the authors are, who would be these ones we have here. To do this, we generate a simple prompt using the prompt template, pass it a dynamic variable which will be the question, define the OpenAI model, and with the exchange.ren function, we will ask the question. Who are the authors of the article? And it gives us this list of authors. If we quickly go to the article and go to the authors, we can see how it is making up the names of the authors. This would be an example of an incorrect response that ChatGPT returns to us, in which, since it does not have access to the article, it is inventing the authors. Anything we asked it about a specific article that it has not been trained with, it will not be able to answer, or it will give us a wrong answer, as is this case. How can we train ChatGPT with an external knowledge base obtained in a PDF? The first thing to do is read the PDF, as we had already mentioned. The PDF must be uploaded here. We would click here to upload files, and this would be the file. So now it will have access to the file through Drive, and with the PDF reader function it would already have reading access. It gives us a green check mark, which means it has been executed correctly. To execute the code, we can go to the execution environment to execute all the cells or execute them one by one. Once we have read the text, it has to be given a specific name, which is rootist, and what we would be doing here is iterating page by page in the pages obtained from the PDF. From the pages obtained from the PDF, the text is extracted and added to rootist. Each page is added as a sort of group. The content of each page would be this text grouped here. We can see that there is a lot of content. Here we could see the structure it has. Once we have done this, we can also access a specific sentence. With this, we would be accessing the first 100 characters, which would be the title of the article. We can check how it obtains it correctly. Then, we need to fragment the text into smaller fragments so that it does not exceed the token limit it accepts. For that, we would use the character text splitter function. We give it access of about 1,000 chunks and thus generate the different fragments with a maximum of 1,000 tokens. We can see that we get 8 fragments, and we could access each of these fragments. The 0 would be the first fragment, 1 the second, and so on. Then, we have to create the embeddings. For that, we have to use the OpenAI embeddings function. Once we have generated them, we will access the embeddings database, in this case FACE. With the friendText function, we pass it the set of segmented texts with a token limit that does not exceed ChatGPT's capacity. And we are also going to pass it the embeddings function. With this, our embeddings database would be generated. Next, we are going to import a series of functions from the chain. Specifically, the question answering functions so that we can ask ChatGPT questions about the content of the embeddings. And therefore, the content of the PDF. We define the model using the load query chain function. We obtain the OpenAI model, and once the type of model is defined, we can program the queries. The first question would be, who are the authors? We need to use the dog search function to search the database. We are going to use similarity search and pass it the question, the query. So in dogs, we would have programmed the similarity search in the face database. Here we generate the face database, and here we are doing this database which we have called dog search. And finally, to execute the command, we use the chain ren function to send the query to ChatGPT, which in turn what ChatGPT is going to do is obtain the embeddings, interpret the information from those embeddings, and with the generative guidance compose a response. What would it be doing here? It takes the embeddings as input, those embeddings that are most similar to the question, and launches the query. And here we have that it answers us that the authors are these ones. Let's see if it matches Uvanes, Anan, and Zach. Here we have it. We can check how it has been able to identify the names of the authors. Something curious is that many OCR interpreters or readers only get the first part of the authors without being able to interpret that the seconds are also author names. However, ChatGPT has been able to interpret that the authors were in 2 rows and has returned us the names of all. And now we can ask it as many questions as we want. We define another query: what is the cost of training GPT-4? GPT-4 is a version of GPT that has recently been released, and therefore ChatGPT has not been trained with the information of GPT-4. In fact, it does not know what GPT-4 is, and the answer to that question is here in the document. So we are going to ask this question, and it tells us $100. Now if we do a search in the article, we can see that indeed it is giving us the correct answer, that the total cost is $100. Another question we are going to ask is, what was the trained model? The model trained with LoRa gives us the information, how the hyperparameters were defined, and how it was done. We will also ask, what was the size of the training dataset? And it gives us this size. We can contrast the answer it gives us with the article, and we can see how indeed it is giving us the correct answers. So we could ask it as many questions as we wanted. For example, how does it differ from other models? And with what it has learned from that article, it compares it with GPT-3 and gives us an answer. And finally, we are going to do a test to see if it works well, and that is we are going to ask, what is Google Bar? Which is another model that has recently been released whose information is not contained in this PDF, nor has ChatGPT been trained with that information. And then it answers us that it does not exist, which is correct. We can check how indeed ChatGPT would be accessing all the information contained in the PDF and would be giving answers based on that content.